Next we have Hamlet. This is the best adaptation of Hamlet out there. I remember watching this in high school. We watched this over the course of, I think, a week. Yeah, but this, even though the movie's set the 18th century, instead of, like, in its original setting, but dialogue and everything that happens in the movie is verbatim from Shakespeare's play. And get the Blu-ray because it's all on one disc, so that way you don't have to, like, there's a nice little booklet in here. This is amazing. The production design is incredible. The cast is excellent. Kenneth Branagh steals the show. Probably my favorite revenge story, because, I mean, of course, it's Shakespeare, but easily the best Shakespeare adaptation that I can find. I know there's For Lawrence Olivier 1948 film. I know there's that, but this is the best adaptation because it's verbatim, word for word. Alright, next we have the Halloween series, Halloween 1978. Of course, I talked about these movies before, but yeah, this is one of the best horror films. It's not even gory, which is probably the best part. It brought horror into the home, and thus it created one of the most iconic characters of all time, Michael Myers. And not to mention, it also was very revolutionary in a way. And then, of course, we have the 2018 sequel, which I already did a review on some time ago. Yeah, I still maintain this is a good sequel, despite the fact that the other two movies are pretty terrible. I'm not a fan of a Halloween series. I never really was. Halloween 2, this is the original Halloween 2, not the Rob Zombie one, taking place immediately after the first film, and set in, like, a hospital. And this is when, like, they wanted to end the series originally, but, you know, it's whatever. I talked about these films several times in my videos. Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. This is the producer's cut, which I'm glad it was released separately and not, you know, in that Shout Factory box set, which is so expensive. It's not even funny. I don't know, whatever. It's the producer's cut. I've heard it's worse. Some are saying it's better, others saying it's worse. I don't care because it's not. And the Rob Zombie remake, which I think was one of the better remakes. I mean, the first 45 minutes sets up how Michael Myers came to be, so it has a chance to stand out on its own. But unlike Maleficent, it actually is very consistent with its narrative, and thus it is it works better than Maleficent because it actually stays true to Michael Myers, but it's a lot darker. I did see the Rob Zombie Halloween 2. I thought it was just okay. Yeah, I'm not really the biggest fan of the Halloween franchise. I've seen 1, 2, 4, and 5, 3 season of which I've never seen, but it doesn't have Michael Myers. But yeah, I'm just not a fan of the Halloween series. Next we have Hamburger Hill, which is about the Battle of Hill 937, which is debatably one of the deadliest in the Vietnam War's history, with Don Cheadle and Dylan McDermott. Pretty good. Hair, oh yes. This was a really good musical, but I gotta say, like, it was pretty solid. Set during the late 60s, the counterculture movement and the hippie movement, and pretty much everything in between. Like, the songs in here are great. Man, it's been a while since I've seen this. Hairspray. So this is like one of 2 musicals based on John Waters movies. So yeah, Hairspray was based on the John Waters film that came out, I think, around 1986, I believe. And Crybaby, which also got turned into a musical. But man, I love Hairspray. Hairspray, the musical version, was really good. I gotta say, like, you know, again, this is another, like, one of those celebration of, like, the 60s. And it's got a great cast. You know, John Travolta, Zac Efron, Christopher Walken, Michelle Pfeiffer, Amanda Bynes, which you don't really hear anything from her anymore. Neither Nikki Blonsky. Whatever happened to her? I don't know what happened to her. Alright, next up, we have Hanem High. Now, this is a Clint Eastwood film. This was the first Clint Eastwood Western I ever saw. when I was 14. And I still have my original copy. I still have it. God, it's been so long since I've seen this, but looking at this brings nostalgia, because I remember watching this when I was 14. I watched it a couple of times, and then after that, I hadn't seen it since. So, yes, I miss this movie, because I haven't seen it in a very long time. I do remember the opening scene where Clint Eastwood gets hanged, and then, like, he's going after the people who were responsible. Hannah and her sisters. Now, I liked this movie, even though I'm not really a Woody Allen fan, but it's not bad. It's got a good cast. It's got a decent plot to it. Overall, it's not bad. I think it's definitely one of Woody Allen's better romantic dramas. Alright, Hannibal, which is the sequel to Silence of the Lambs. Now, Silence of the Lambs was a fantastic psychological thriller. Hannibal was an okay sequel. I didn't think it was as bad as people gave it credit for. Like, I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, the ending was terrible. I will admit, the ending was terrible. But, again, it's not bad. I mean, Julia Moore's fine, as Cora Star. I mean, I didn't mind her. And, of course, Anthony Hopkins is great as Hannibal Lecter. But overall, I just felt like there was something missing in the sequel. Like, it's not bad. I think people need to just, calm down. It really isn't that bad. It's not on par with the first film, that's for sure. It's not on par with Silence of the Lambs, not even close. And there were other Hannibal Lecter movies that had come out over years. There was Hannibal Rising, which was the origin story, and Red Dragon. And then, of course, everybody's going to bring up, what about Manhunter? I don't think anybody really counts that one anymore. I mean, some people do, but not me particularly. Happy Birthday to Me. So I found this at a Menards, which, yes, I didn't even know they sold movies. I didn't know that. I saw this, and at first I thought, okay, this looks stupid, and it's like an 80s slasher, but then I saw it like last year, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible at all. It wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting this movie to be like, just a generic slasher movie set at somebody's birthday party, but no, there actually is a little bit more to it. There's a little bit more to it, and I love this Mill Creek VHS cover. But yeah, I don't want to give it away just in case you're interested in it, but I don't recommend it for a casual viewer. Happy Feet. Now, this is great. This is easily one of the best animated films that were released around the 2000s. This is fantastic. Although there seemed to be this wave of Penguin movies that would just randomly be released. I don't know why, but whatever. I mean, there's this, Surf's Up, March of the Penguins. I mean, Farce of the Penguins, but just a bunch of them. And this movie's great. The animation is great. The idea behind it of being different is okay. But that message is conveyed very well in this movie, where a lot of other movies have tried and not succeed. Smurfs for Lost Village is one of them. But yeah, overall that was great. You have a good cast: Elijah Wood, Robin Williams, Brittany Murphy, Hugh Jackman, Nicole Kidman. Oh, pretty good. I did see the sequel once, and the only thing I remember about that movie was the ending. I think they took out all the musical sequences too. The Happening. Now let me make something perfectly clear. M. Night Shyamalan has made some good movies. The Sixth Sense, The Village, minus the twist at the end. The S-Trace 77 trilogy consisting of Unbreakable, Split, and Glass. This would have been one of them. And I've seen this twice. I saw it once in the theater, and I saw it again sometime later. I really don't think it's that bad. I really don't. I don't think this movie's that bad. Mind you, the acting in this movie is horrific. The acting in this movie is absolutely terrible. Literally, the one scene where Mark Wahlberg's talking to these guys, and he's like, "We're not infected. With Z." We're perfectly normal. We're perfectly fine. Over gray water. It's so stupid. I mean, he's like talking to a plant saying, we just had to use the bathroom. Oh my god, but why was so stupid? This movie has bad dialogue and bad acting. But the dialogue in here is, it was better than Devil. It was better than that movie. But yeah, I mean, if you can get past the bad acting and sometimes horrible line delivery, like some lines are so bad like you can't even take it seriously. It's better than some of M. Night Shyamalan's other movies. There was another movie that came out recently that was a little similar to The Happening. It was called Bird Box. So, I mean, if you liked The Happening, you'd like Bird Box, but if you didn't like The Happening, Bird Box is slightly better. Up next, we have the Harold and Kumar series. Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, which is a great stoner comedy about these two guys who just want to get some White Castle. It's so dumb, but it works. It works as a solid stoner comedy, and overall, it's a really good trip. That's great from Guantanamo Bay. Not so much. Actually, it's funny. I saw this first. Then I saw White Castle. I thought this movie was just plain stupid. I didn't feel like this movie held any weight to it. It just was dumb. Okay, next we have the Harry Potter movies. So I have all of them. I've got all the Harry Potter movies, and my friends and I, we did a Harry Potter marathon. I think it was like last year. And man, this is a great franchise. The first one, Sorcerer's Stone. This is the one that a lot of people grew up with, and the one that is a masterpiece by far. Young boy Harry Potter finds out he's a wizard through Hagrid and gets sent to the Hogwarts School of Magic and Wizardry. And yeah, and then somebody's like after him. Of course, you know it's Voldemort, or He Who Shall Not Be Named. The music by John Williams is amazing. The direction by Chris Columbus. The cast who would go on to become icons. But just, it's an all-around great fantasy film that would be the start of amazing franchise. I don't want to get too much into the tiny details, like the plot details, because I'll be here all week. And we got tons of stuff to go through. But anyway, I'm just going to breeze by some of the plots real quick. The second film, Chamber of Secrets. Dobby the elf, he's trying to warn Harry not to go to Hogwarts because there's a Chamber of Secrets that's hypnotizing people and freezing them in place, and so Harry's life is in danger, so he's trying to save him, but there's something more sinister at play. And yeah, this was a lot of great moments where Ron and Harry driving the flying car trying to avoid the train, the climax with the basilisk and Tom Riddle. He finds out about Tom Riddle with the diary, and it plays out kind of like a mystery film. Prisoner of Azkaban, number 3. So of course we have the Prisoner of Azkaban, who he gets sent to prison. Of course you have the Dementors, who they are trying to steal Harry's memories and are trying to avoid them. So, that's Burbeak. Yeah, Burbeak, who he has a whole subplot in this movie, and of course, yeah, that's a really good one. The fourth one, Goblet of Fire, is easily my least favorite of them because, well, okay, you know how the first 3 films were kind of lighthearted fantasy films, but they got dark when they needed to? Well, this one just kind of pushed it to the envelope. This is the first appearance of Voldemort in his true form, but Harry gets accidentally signed up for this fight to the death tournament, and I just found the whole plot totally implausible. Why would a school allow this kind of life or death competition? Why would they allow that? I just found the whole thing completely stupid, and I just found the whole thing implausible. Although the scene where we finally see Voldemort for the first time, that was great. And my second least favorite film, Order of the Phoenix, number 5. It's all thanks to the main plot being Dolores Umbridge. She was literally the worst thing in this entire movie, and unfortunately, she's an essential part of the plot. And this Target exclusive is really cool. Yeah, it's also got a bonus disc in here. See the yeah. Yeah, this movie is pretty Dolores Umbridge. She like forbids magic. Why would they hire this woman to teach a school with magic? Why the hell would they do that? I don't get it. I absolutely do not get it at all. It's like, and then Harry and the students have to like use magic to defeat like Voldemort. And it's like, what are you gonna do? Defeat Voldemort using words and finger pointing? Hell no. You're not gonna do that. Absolutely not. Okay, yeah, I'm just not. Oh god, I'm not a fan of those two. I liked the sixth one, the Half-Blood Prince. This was when like they got darker as the series went on. So as the series progressed, you saw the characters mature over time, and I think that's what made it so good. Like the progression of these characters, I think it was great, but you get to a point where it just kind of gets tiring. But this one has that one scene that sets the tone for the last two movies. I'm not going to say where that scene is. And finally, we have the climactic finale, The Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Part 2. Now, Part 1, as you can see, was autographed by Tom Felton, who plays Draco Malfoy in the series. He is actually a really nice guy. Actually, when I met him, it was 95 degrees. The line was as long as a snake, and it was really hot. Actually, I took my mom to go see him, and she drank like $20 worth of water bottles. I mean, it was just really, really hot. And I missed Deathly Hallows Part 2 to see him, but it was really great seeing him anyway. Deathly Hallows Part 1. So this was the entire build-up. So this was, like, people were disappointed, like, oh man, I gotta wait for another movie. Which, by the way, Mission Impossible is doing that right now with Dead Reckoning. But yeah, this is all just build-up. And of course, there's that one scene involving Dobby, who does come back. Very drama-heavy, that one. And Deathly Hallows Part 2, which is my personal favorite of them all. The climactic battle between Voldemort, his members in the dark arts and Hogwarts. The realization of who Harry is as a person and as a character. The struggles that they all go through. And you know, the fate of the whole wizard world, per se. But yeah, this is easily the best one, easily the best finale, and it is absolutely beautiful. But yeah, just an amazing finale. So why the hell is HBO Max doing some TV show out of Harry Potter? You have the series, for God's sakes. You own the licenses to these movies. Leave them alone. My God. You cannot leave franchises alone, can you? You cannot leave franchises alone. For God's sake. Harry and Tonto. I'm moving on before I get really angry. Harry and Tonto was a really good movie. It's sort of like a road trip movie, but not really. Art Connie gets evicted from his house, and then he has to like travel the country to find a new home, along with his cat Tonto. It's a really interesting story. Very simplistic in its storytelling. Harvey, this is a great movie. I don't know how many people have seen this, but oh my god, this is fantastic. All you millennials need to like watch this movie, because this example of how you tell a story about a man roughly in his mid-30s still having imaginary friends. And in this case, it's a 5-foot-tall rabbit named Harvey. And it's so charming and clever and interesting. And yeah, Josephine Hall's in here as well, who won Best Supporting Actress. Coming up, we have one of the best horror films of all time, The Haunting. This is one of the best horror films ever made. even if you don't find this movie scary, at the very least, you can say that it was a really good character study. It's creepy, it's atmospheric, it has good acting, the black and white cinematography is just incredible, and overall, it's just a really wonderful, this is a really well done horror film. And no, do not watch that remake. Please. Haunting in Connecticut, I don't really know why I have this, to be quite honest with you. I don't really know. Here's another movie in my collection that's been sitting here for God knows how long, and I just haven't had the time to watch it. Heat. I heard this is really good. I heard this is it's been sitting here, and I don't know why I haven't watched it yet. Because I heard this is one of the best crime heist films of all time, directed by Michael Mann. And I know it's really good. I know it's great. I just need to actually sit down and watch that. Heaven is for Real. This is a true story about a boy who has a near-death experience, and he shares his experiences with his family. And yeah, it's a good story, but there could have been more, of his experiences told in this movie. Yes, I have it. Heaven's Gate. Considered by many to be one of the worst films ever made. If you don't know anything about this movie, this was about the Johnson County War. And the movie was panned across the board when it first came out. Yet it's gained sort of a cult following. Well, not a cult following, but it's gained a nicer reception over years. Directed by Michael Cimino, who did The Deer Hunter 2 years before. And yeah, this movie, I know the reception this movie's got. I know the production hell that it went through to get made. Hell or High Water, this is a decent drama with Jeff Bridges. Chris Pine and Ben Foster play two brothers who rob banks to save their mom's farm. And Jeff Bridges is trying to understand why. It's about two people who don't want to live a life they lead, but they know that but they're worried about their mom's farm being in danger, so they live this lifestyle. Hellboy. Now, this is a movie I haven't seen this since it. This was actually a gift, which is why I haven't gotten rid of it. But yeah, this movie I haven't seen this in a long time. But I did see the new Hellboy, David Harbour. I'm perfectly well aware that it's. I mean, he's not Bill Pullman. That's for sure. But again, haven't seen these movies in a while. I did see the second one, but I don't remember what it was about. Another Broadway musical adaptation, this time Hello Dolly. Barbra Streisand, Walter Matthau, Michael Crawford, and Louis Armstrong. This is directed by Gene Kelly, of course, as you know, starring in the famous MGM musicals. And, of course, it's got the best song in the whole musical, which is Put On Your Sunday Clothes. The Help. Now, The Help was an interesting story because it tackled race issues in the segregated South in the 60s during the civil rights movement. And yeah, I want to say it was pretty good. It's been a while since I've seen it. It's a really good story. Her. This is a love story unlike any at the time. It's about a lonely man who falls in love with an operating system. It's told in a subversive way, and it works beautifully. This is, again, it's one of these smaller stories that don't get as much exposure as something like, all the stuff we have now. And this is one of those stories that was really well done, won the Oscar for original screenplay. Hercules, the Disney one. Where is the re-release of this? Where's the re-release? You haven't done that yet. Man, I haven't seen this since I was a kid. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember the song Zero to Hero and the Dwayne Johnson one. Again, this is a movie that I did like when it came out. I liked the action in it. I liked the story in this. I didn't think it was bad. Actually, this is a retail exclusive. Yeah, it's a retail exclusive. But yeah, I remember watching this. There are like a whole bunch of like Hercules movies that have come out since, and some are better than others. I'd say the Disney one and this one are the best ones to watch. There was also The Legend of Hercules, which I heard was a complete disaster. Hereafter, Clint Eastwood is one of my favorite directors, but he has made some movies that fell completely under the radar, and this is one of them. It's about three people who all have had different experiences. One is a medium, one survived the 2004 Indonesian tsunami, and another had a brother who was killed. And these three people come together, and one of those is Matt Damon, who tries to connect with both of them. Next we have one of the best westerns of all time, High Noon. This is one of the best westerns you will ever watch. It's the story of Gary Cooper's character, who he won his second Oscar as a sheriff, who he just got married to Grace Kelly, and he finds out that there are these train robbers who are about to rob his train at noon, and he has a choice to make and he asks himself, is he doing this for the right reasons? And throughout the whole movie, and when the moment comes at high noon, he has to make the choice of whether he is doing it for the right reasons, whether he's protecting himself or others. And he sort of asks himself that question, like, I mean, the criminals are after him and the train, but he knows he has a responsibility to, put these guys in jail, in prison, because because it would be morally the right thing to do, and he asks himself that question of like, what's the right call, like what's the right approach. This is just a great film, great character study on responsibility. High Society. Now, this is the musical version of the Philadelphia Story with Bing Crosby, Grace Kelly, Frank Sinatra, and Louis Armstrong. It's pretty good. Celeste Holm and Louis Cowhern's in here as well. Sidney Blackmer. Probably the best scene is the duet with Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra. That's like the best scene in the whole movie. Oh, this. When I was a kid, I remember watching this on TV, and I just kept thinking, like, wow, this was kind of intense. I actually taped it off a TV, and I think I still have that tape somewhere. But this is a movie that, I mean, they tried to propose the idea of whether the Hindenburg was actually sabotaged, but they debunked that. They debunked that theory a long time after this. So, and actually, there's new evidence that has come out since of why the Hindenburg exploded in the first place. It's a really great PBS documentary. It's called Hindenburg: The New Evidence, directed by Robert Wise. Great cast though: George C. Scott, Anne Bancroft, Charles Durning, Burgess Meredith, Gig Young. Next we have one of my favorite screwball comedies, His Girl Friday. 1948 with Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell. This is one of my favorite screwball comedies. Just the frantic side of the newspaper business, and pretty much like how like everybody's after this case, but like everybody wants the scoop, and Rosalind Russell is the one who's like Cary Grant's match. Superbly directed by Howard Hawks. It's funny, it's interesting, and oh my god, please re-release this at some point. History of a World Part 1. Okay, as I'm recording this, somebody finally decided, hey, let's release a Part 2. But it's on Hulu. And I can't watch it. But it was weird. I wondered why all these years nobody thought of making a sequel to this. Seriously, like, why didn't anybody think of making a sequel? Like, oh, it's like... It's like a satire on history. I get it. It's like a spoof of satire, and it's like, yeah, I get it, but like, I just don't know. I don't know. Whatever. It's interesting. Hobbit: Desolation of Smaug. I did see the first Hobbit movie, An Unexpected Journey, and I'm actually gonna get all the Hobbit, Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies, the extended versions. I'm gonna get all of those at some point. I don't have the extended versions of Lord of the Rings, but I am gonna get the extended versions of the Hobbit saga. Actually, where is Smaug? Smaug was an important part of... Where is he? He's not anywhere... Oh. There he is. He's on the back. Yeah, there he is. I don't get it. Like, I need to see all the Hobbit movies. Actually, I got HBO Max, which has all the Lord of the Rings movies, including the extended versions. So I'm going to do that sooner than later. And then we have The Hills Have Eyes. This is the original from 1977, directed by Wes Craven. And this is a really good horror film. Actually, this is one of Wes Craven's earlier films in which I don't have to feel incredibly uncomfortable watching it. He directed Last House on the Left, which we'll get to later. This is the Arrow release, and I'm trying to get more Arrow releases. But anyway, this is the best one you should get in terms of all the releases. It's about this family that went on vacation, but they may come across these... I'm not sure what they were called, like cannibals? No, I'm not sure what they're called, but they terrorize them throughout the whole movie. It's a good horror movie for sure. I mean, not as... I mean, you have to understand Wes Craven this was before Nightmare on Elm Street, so... Next section! Holiday Inn. This is a classic. I believe I talked about this before, but anyway, this movie isn't really a Christmas movie. It's more or less a year-round holiday film where like Bing Crosby decides to open up this hotel dedicated to all the holidays. Some holidays aren't even around anymore. Yeah, some of them were like combined over the years. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Now, I saw this movie a long time ago. I kind of thought it was funny as a kid. This movie was kind of interesting. This simple guy who hitchhikes after the world blows up, basically. But it's been a long time since I've seen that. I do remember the opening song, though. So on and thanks for all the fish. So sorry has to come to this. Hitman. This was based on the game series. You know what, I'm just gonna say my thoughts on this one for when I actually do talk about this on Video Game Celluloid. So, I'll get back to that. Next, we have Hollywood Divas. So this collection... Remember when AMC did show classic films? Yeah, they don't do that anymore. But this was one of the sets that they released, and these were all public domain movies. Hometown Story with Marilyn Monroe, Of Human Bondage with Bette Davis, Rain with Joan Crawford, and Lady of Burlesque with Barbara Stanwyck. And out of these, I've only seen Lady of Burlesque, which is more or less like a detective comedy of sorts. But most of these are dramas, most of them, so that's where they would go. Next up, we have Hollywoodland, which is about the death of George Reeves, who was the original Superman. The movie kind of poses the idea that maybe he was murdered by... I'm blanking on her name right now, but she... I'm blanking on her name right now, but she was... It posed that idea, but I don't believe a murder theory. The movie tries to pose the question, but it works to an extent. Like, they do bring up the fact that George Reeves was very depressed. The fact that he was typecast as Superman and, like, he couldn't get any other parts, but it does show that accurately. But, yeah, it's a good movie, I guess. Honky Tonk Man, which is Clint Eastwood and his son Kyle, which you never even hear from him anymore. This was one of the early Clint Eastwood films I saw, and I don't remember it. Don't remember that one. Sorry I'm cramped here, guys. I got a sofa behind me. Hook. Now, this is one of Steven Spielberg's underrated films. You might not be the biggest fan of it, but you can't say that it wasn't bad either. It had this sort of divide with people. I thought it was kind of okay. I did think it was entertaining, and I thought the performances were great across the board, but as far as goes like a continuation of Peter Pan, it could have been done worse. But I think there is a love for this movie that still exists, and I think overall it earns its place in everyone's collection. Hoosiers. Still have not seen this. Maybe it's the DVD I own, or maybe it's because of the fact that I haven't had a chance to watch it. And this is one of those, like, oh yeah, this is one of those sports dramas where it was like, yeah, the usual stuff. But anyway, Hope Springs. I don't even remember what this was. Hope Springs. I don't remember this one. To be honest, I don't remember that one. Horse Soldiers with Baduke, William Holden, and Constance Towers. This was primarily inspired by an actual Civil War incident. It's very loosely based on it, but it's a very decent Western otherwise. Directed by John Ford. Horton Hears a Who. This was the only good Dr. Seuss movie to have come out. I mean, yeah, everybody brings up a War X, but I don't think so. Horton Hears a Who. Yeah, this is definitely one of the better ones, for sure. This is easily one of the best. Like, part of it, I think it's because it's smarter than the other ones. It's just smarter, it's more interesting, and plus on top of that, you have a good cast that includes Jim Carrey and Steve Carell. So, it works better than you might expect. Speaking of which, Hot Fuzz. Oh yes, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. This is a blast. I didn't think you could write an action comedy well, outside of what had been done before with like Lethal Weapon and Beverly Hills Cop and 48 Hours. But man, they pulled it off. They pulled it off big time. And yes, this was great. It was fun. It was engaging for sure. Especially the ending scene is just incredible. Check that out. Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part 2. Hot Shots is basically a parody of Top Gun. That's like literally all it is. And Part 2 is a parody of Rambo, which I haven't seen, but I did see the first one. First one wasn't bad. Hotel Rwanda. This is a really solid drama, but a true story of this guy who, after the Rwandan genocide of 1990, I think it's either 93 or 94, he creates a hotel for the survivors. And it's a very inspiring story with Don Cheadle. This is a really great drama. Check that out. The Hours is another good movie too, but not quite in the same vein as Hotel Rwanda. This is about 3 women. One of them is author Virginia Woolf, played by Nicole Kidman if she won the Oscar, and 2 other women, Julia Moore and Meryl Streep. So they're kind of like, I guess they were kind of like inspired by her works or something. It's been a while since I've seen this, but all the performances here are great across the board. Now, if you want to know like one of my favorite films to watch during Halloween all the time, House of Wax. This is one of them. This is easily my favorite House of Wax film. There was in 1933, there was an original movie called Mystery of the Wax Museum, and then you have this one with Vincent Price. Now, Vincent Price, this one is the one I recommend. I'm not sure how the 2005 one is, because I haven't seen that, but based on what I heard, it was pretty garbage. But yeah, the Vincent Price one is great, even if it's short. This sculptor, this wax sculpture, he can't, he had like these wax figures, but then some guy thought it'd be funny to burn it down, and so now there's like this murderer going around, and now he's recreating his museum in a way, but different. But this, I don't want to give too much away, but this is a good movie. Now here's another movie that I like, but I'm not sure if anybody else does like. Houseboat. Now Cary Grant's a literature who he meets Sophia Loren by accident, and Ben may have a bright idea to buy a houseboat with his 3 kids. And it's an interesting family-oriented story that does work. It's funny, and it's pretty good. Actually, one of the kids was on the Donna Reed show. I'm blanking on the kid's name now. Oh, I'm blanking on his name. Jerry something. Jerry Weavers, I think. I'm blanking on his name right now. Howard the Duck. You know what? This really isn't that bad. Like, all the remakes that get made, why don't they remake this? Make it better, But yeah, I really don't think this movie's that bad. It's stupid. I've seen worse. I have seen worse. Hugo. Now, Hugo was Martin Scorsese's first foray into, like, family entertainment, and I gotta say, he nailed it. He did a good job, but then again, it's, a while since I've seen that. But I think, little boy comes across film director George Méliès, and like he lives in this like train station or something. It's been a while. Hulk. Now this is the Ang Lee Hulk. This is the Ang Lee one. Now, I tried watching this one time and I just couldn't get through it for whatever reason. Sorry about the glare. I tried watching it, but maybe one of these days I'll actually sit down and actually try to watch it, because I heard kind of like mixed things about it, but the one thing I do know is that the MCU was not based on this Hulk. It was Incredible Hulk. Next we have this Humphrey Bogart collection. So I would put all these under war, because we're basically all war movies. They Drive by Night, Across the Pacific, Passage to Marseille, and Action in the North Atlantic. Alright, now this is another donation, The Hunt for Red October. This was the first Jack Ryan movie with Sean Connery. Now, I didn't see this one, but I did see a couple of the other Jack Ryan movies. Queer and Present Danger and Patriot Games. I saw those two with Harrison Ford. And I believe there's an Amazon TV show, and there was Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit. That's what it was. Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit. The Hustler, here it is. This is this was the film that inspired the Color of Money. Paul Newman and Jackie Gleason as the Minnesota Fats, the two pool sharks who duke it out, and it's great. This is an excellent film. Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte. Now, this was originally meant to be a Whatever Happened to Baby Jane reunion, but it didn't quite work out. If you've seen Feud Betty and Joan, you know why, but I gotta say, it was well done for what they tried to do. Olivia de Havilland was supposed to be Joan Crawford. Humorosk, it's been a while. How do you pronounce this movie? I can never pronounce this correctly. I don't know, whatever. It's about a violinist who falls in love with Joan Crawford. John Garfield. It's been a while since I've seen that. Here's another movie I need to get around to. How Green Was My Valley. Best Picture winner 1941. This simple story about these people who grew up in this like mining. I'm not sure if it's mining. I think it's yeah, it's a mining town. Okay, I was right. Alright, so we're dealing with the hardships of mining in this town. Yeah, I know it's great. I just need to get around to that. Actually, interesting trivia. Philip Dunn, who wrote this movie, directed Elvis in Wild in the Country. How the West Was Won. Now, this movie is historic for a number of reasons. One, because the movie was filmed in Cinerama. And Cinerama was primarily known for, like, documentaries and such, but this was the first time they ever shot for a feature film. And the other film was, I think it was like The Wonderful World of the Brothers Grimm. Now, this has had not a good life on home video and TV airings, but this free disc edition digitally restores the movie and actually makes it look new again. But this movie has a great ensemble cast that includes, let me just show you here, Carol Baker, Lee J. Cobb, Henry Fonda, Carolyn Jones, Carl Malden, Gregory Peck, George Papard, George Preston, Debbie Reynolds, Eli Wallach, James Stewart, oh god, who was it? Spencer Tracy, Richard Widmark, Baduke. I think I saw like parts of it, but that is a must-own Western. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. The other movie with Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson. How to Marry a Millionaire. Now, this is a great Marilyn Monroe vehicle. These three women, Marilyn Monroe, Betty Grable, and Roland Bacall, they want to marry a millionaire, even though they live in a nice penthouse condo. They want to be even more rich, and they figure out a way to kidnap him and marry him, and oh, it's great. How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. Now, I was actually in How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying at one point, and I did some research and I watched this movie, and I can conclude that the only number that's not in a movie is the no coffee number, and that was like that was the funniest song in the entire show. And yeah, the movie was fine. The movie was fine. Alright, next we have How to Train Your Dragon. The first How to Train Your Dragon is excellent. The first one's great. It's a great father-son story. It has all these cliches, the father-son story, the guy who's never seen or heard, never judge a book by its cover. It does all these things, all these cliches, but it managed to work. Somehow, it managed to work. And it managed to have its own identity. And for that, I commend him for that. Actually, this Dragon collection is pretty good. But yeah, this movie is good. No doubt about it. And then How to Train Your Dragon 2, which is the Target exclusive. Yeah, I do like this movie. Some say it's better than the first. Others say it's decent. But I think it's fine. I think it's a fine movie. It's certainly we get to know more about whose Hiccup's parents were. So that's kind of neat. And yeah, the dragon fights are better. Not better, but they're pretty decent, pretty cool. But I was not a fan of the third one, The Hidden World. I just was not a fan of that one. Without giving too much away, it basically shoots itself in the foot. It does. It shoots itself before it even... The ending is so terrible. I'm sorry. I know. That's me, but I'm not a fan of that. But I'll probably pick it up anyway. Anyway, The Howling. Arguably the second best werewolf movie outside of American Werewolf in London. Literally the best scene in this movie is where, Dee Wallace gets turned into a werewolf on camera, because I think she's a news anchor in this. She gets turned into a werewolf on camera, and it's, yeah. Please re-release this, because this is a pretty good werewolf film.